Guys, today we're talking about the $3,000 sneaker that you can now get for $180 or less, and how Jordan Brand covered these in a material that apparently creases way more than your standard Jordans. Here we have the box, standard Jordan 1 box, except for the fact that the colors are now inverted, so red box with black branding. Popping the top open, and here we have the Jordan 1 Satin Bred. You get a couple little added extras in the box. For starters, you get a pair of red laces, which also come with metal aglets. Because of course, laced up on the pair of shoes is the black laces. They also have the metal aglets as well. And then you also get this tiny canvas tote bag, which is too kind of small to really function like a tote bag. Like the handles are super small, so you kind of throw it on and you can't fit it. It's more like a handbag. I mean, it only really just about fits the pair of shoes. I mean, it kind of fits them pretty perfectly, so I guess that's exactly why they made it this size. So here we have them, guys, the Jordan 1 Satin Bred. And why don't we just get the whole $3,000 sneaker thing out of the way real quick? Yes, this is pretty much an identical pair of shoes to the Satin Breds that dropped back in 2016. Now, the main difference is the pair that dropped in 2016 came in a full size run. But the catch with those was that they were extremely limited to about 500 pairs, and every single one was numbered. So they've made a return here in 2023. However, now they only come in a woman's size run. Basically, anything past a men's 10.5, you can't fit these things. And they're not numbered or anywhere as limited as the 2016 pair. And they're going to be dropping October the 18th for $180. So, if you didn't know, Jordan Brand is actually pretty fond of adding satin materials to Jordan 1. Like I said, we had the Satin Breds from 2016. In 2017, the Satin Royals dropped, which are the closest looking to this pair, except for obviously the colorway. The Satin Shatter backboards dropped in 2018, and the Satin Black Toes in 2019. And then I guess you could also count the Chicago Satin Snake Skins, which pretty much just had more snakeskin than anything else, but they did have a satin tongue and were called satin. Point is, there's a decent amount of other Satin Jordan 1s, but this one is very interesting. Jordan Brand very rarely ever drops an exact re-release like this. They typically tweak some small details and then just say that it's inspired by that colorway. Not to mention that it was only 2 years ago since we got the last iteration of the Jordan 1 Bred colorway. And then of course is the patent Breds, which come in all over patent leather and is extremely shiny. Like, if you thought these were shiny, yeah, these things are slick. Either way, I think it's time to address the most problematic thing with this pair of shoes, and that is the creasing. This is actually the first time that I've had a Jordan 1 covered entirely in this satin material. I didn't really know what to expect or even really think about it, to be honest, but what I heard so many people say was that Satin Jordan 1s crease incredibly bad. People are saying you wear these things one time and they look terrible, just creases all over the toe box. And after wearing these things around for a while, I can say I actually think it's a little bit over-exaggerated. Look, I will say straight off the bat, the creases that you make in this pair of shoes will be a lot more noticeable for multiple different factors than your standard pair of leather Jordan 1s. For starters, the creases that you get on this satin material are just a lot thicker. Like, you can see even when I just bend it, those creases are super thick. And over time, it's not going to be a great look. Now, you mix that with the fact that these do not come with perforation holes like normal leather Jordan 1s, it makes those creases a lot more noticeable. Like, that's the only thing you're looking at, because they don't have the little holes to distract you, so it's literally just eyeball straight to the creases. So yeah, even though the toe box on this pair of shoes doesn't look too bad after the handfuls of times that I've worn these things, I think over time it could get pretty ugly. Now, having said that, the little ironing trick that people use on standard Jordan 1s where they put like a cloth over it and then just lightly go over it with an iron, I think it's going to work better on this pair of shoes than leather ones. At least there's that. But creasing aside, I've got to say the satin material does feel really nice in hand. And it got me thinking, like, what actually is satin material? That's typically associated with silk, but it's way more likely that these things are actually just nylon or polyester, which at the end of the day is not that breathable, so might not be the best option on a pair of sneakers. I highly doubt Jordan Brand is using actual silk on this pair of shoes. But nevertheless, like I said, it feels silky, soft, and really nice in hand. Now, in comparison to a regular pair of leather Jordan 1s, it's not just the satin material that they've changed on this pair of shoes. There are some other small differences. Starters, the Nike swoosh on this pair of shoes is now heavily embroidered all the way around, so it has like this thick stitching outline. I actually kind of like it. I feel like it very subtly just brings that Nike swoosh out from the rest of the shoe. You also get a different Jordan Wings logo up around the ankle area that is now just kind of embroidered or stitched in there, so it's not an extra patch or debossed or anything like that. Obviously, the toe box being completely naked, no perforation holes. I think it's kind of one of those things where if you don't think about it, you don't really notice it, but then when you look at the toe box and then you're like, oh yeah, that's actually a pretty big difference. But by far the biggest difference about this pair of shoes is not what's on the outside, it's actually, in my opinion, what's on the inside. Magic that happens when you put your foot in these things is pretty damn incredible. I absolutely love the way that these things feel. It's hands down a lot more comfortable than a standard pair of Jordan 1. Got slightly finer material on the inside, so it's like even more silky than what's on the outside. It's got very nice padding, especially on this tongue, which is also made up of this very nice fine satin material, and your foot just slides in there and it does feel a lot more comfortable and nice to put on. They also added a slightly softer insole to these things. I'm not entirely sure if it's actually thicker or anything like that, but it is actually quite noticeable when you're wearing them. So yeah, I've definitely enjoyed the experience wearing these things over a regular pair of leather Jordan 1s. Obviously, at the same time, Jordan 1s were never known for their comfort, so it's not like people are choosing to wear Jordan 1s because they're a super comfortable shoe. They definitely choose the way that it looks over the comfort. Overall, honestly, I thought I was going to dislike this pair of shoes a lot more than I actually do. I just thought the satin material was not for me. The patent breads weren't really my thing. Going into these things, I really didn't have high hopes, but I kind of like the way that they look on foot. I really think in the right scenario, these things would be perfect for certain outfits. Like, it's probably not the best everyday sneaker, but for certain occasions, certain outfits, these things are probably going to elevate the fit quite a lot. And actually, another really interesting thing about this pair of shoes, or pretty much all satin Jordan 1s, seems like every single version of a satin Jordan 1 just decreases in price over time. Like the satin black toes were an almost $600 sneaker 3 years ago, and now it's closer to $200. The shadow backboard, still pretty damn expensive, but it's like half the price that they were at their peak. The satin snakeskins are literally under retail, and they were about $300 when they first released. The only outliers that I can see are the extremely limited ones, like the Royals and the Satin Breds, the numbered ones. So why exactly is that? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but seeing this pair of shoes, and as we're edging closer and closer to the actual release, the price of these is already pretty low. You actually might be able to get a pretty incredible steal on this pair of shoes after the release. Either way, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on these things down in the comment section. Are you going to be going for a pair again on October the 18th? And if you want to go and check out that video over there, it's the top 10 Jordan 1s under retail.